We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Izuku, he don't live in reality. Shake back off, become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. We sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, and I'm back with you with another new part of What If Izuku Was in Fire Force. This is part 2, and like I said, guys, with all the support that you guys gave me and all the love that you got me for that of this What If, to be honest, even though it was originally supposed to be nothing but a one-shot, but I felt so drawn to basically make this a full-on series. Once again, I appreciate it. It really does mean a lot. And a good time to release it too, given that Fire Force has made its triumphant return after all. So I feel like it's a good idea to post this part now. So, at any rate, let's go to have a pretty quick recap just in case. Given that this Izuku was born in the world of Fire Force, and is a resident and born in that of Asakusa of the Tokyo Empire, but instead of joining that of the 7th Company, instead he leaves to go and join that of the 8th Company, where meeting his closest friends, Shinra, Arthur, and Oga as well, being assigned to the 8th, which is basically one of the smallest and newest companies, helping out Shinra with that of his PTSD and supporting him as his friend, as fellow heroes in the future. Even Arthur being assigned to that of the company, and Izuku, with that of Ogun, basically now having to keep the two in check now even more. Getting used to being part of Company 8, and then that's of the Fire Soldier games also taking part. However, that's where they meet that of a wanted criminal by the name of Joker, who also has information on that of Shinra's little brother, Sho. And then Captain Obi also bring up the fact on what the Company 8's true intentions are, that they are a special company to investigate, inspect, and basically hold that of other companies accountable for that of illegal actions, with both Izuku and Shinra on board no matter what. So, with all that said, let's get into this. Shall we, guys? It's been that of a day since, the canceled Fire Soldier rookie games, as the news basically talks about that of festivals and everything else, alongside the weather, with Shinra, Izuku, and Obi in that of his office, with Obi turning off the TV saying, nada. Not a single one of the incidents that happened about that of the Fire Soldier rookie games. Not even bringing up that of the wanted criminal of Joker as well. Hearing this, both Shinra and Izuku surprised. However, not too surprised as well, given what they heard from Captain Obi about that of yesterday. With Izuku looking down saying, somebody is covering up the incident. They don't want the public to panic after knowing that a wanted criminal was basically under the noses of every fire soldier in that of the Empire. Excluding that of Company 7, of course. Within, Shinra saying, yeah, I'm guessing they really don't want people to panic that much. Within, looking down, Izuku noticed Shinra's look as he thinks, Is he thinking about that of his little brother's show and what Joker said? But then Izuku can up and look down before realizing, knowing Shinra, he's going to continue to stay with the Company 8 after all, given that this is the only company that's willing to look into that of inferno combustion after all. I wonder, does any of the companies have any information about this as well? After Izuku thinking that, that's when Vice Captain Takahisa soon shows up as the spectacles-wearing brunette, bringing that of a clipboard with that of tons of notes on it saying, we were finally able to analyze what Joker used to basically set the entire rookie games and task into flames. And you were right, Izuku. It was Ash. But then Izuku saying, I thought so. But there was no way that Ash alone would be able to burn that quickly. Maybe the first and second levels possibly, but not the entirety of the whole entire thing. But then Takahisa hearing that saying, exactly. That's because the ash that was used was inferno ashes. With that, everyone's eyes widening in pure and utter shock. Even Izuku was basically completely and utterly dumbfounded. With Obi saying, flames from ashes from that of infernos? Why the hell? With Shinra going, no way. Who would basically use ashes from that of infernos? Isn't that like desecrating a person's grave and corpse? With Izuku commenting saying, I remember an article back when we were in the Academy, Shinra. People say that there's a chance that we can use that of passed on in basically, purified inferno's ashes as that of a fuel source outside of Amaterasu, just in case anything happens to that of the power plant. However, the Holy Soul Temple basically vetoed it, in their words saying we shouldn't use the ashes of that of the deceased. They should be allowed to rest in peace. If I recall, that of the proposal was offered by that of Hajime Industries, basically the third company. However, the first company, alongside the Holy Soul Temple, had a lot more power over Hajime, surprisingly. And it was vetoed pretty quickly by the Emperor himself. With everybody looking at that of the green net, within, Shinra saying, wow, you remember quite a bit, Izuku. Within, Izuku scratching the back of his head in that nervousness and also being put on the spot saying, sorry. Within, Takahisa saying, no, actually, this adds a lot more. If you could can you remember on where you saw this article or news outlet? Within, Izuku saying, it was on a site that I was reading when I was still at the academy. I can't fully remember it, but I could probably look it up for you if you want, Lieutenant. But then saying, that would be great. No rush, but I would appreciate it. Saying, will do, sir. Which Shinra couldn't help but smile at that of his friend, thinking, Izuku's improved quite a bit. I remember back then he was basically a stuttering bag of nerves back in the day. Always nervous being around that of people, to be honest, outside of Asakusa. I'm really glad he's coming out of his shell a lot. But then Obi saying, well then you two, you should probably get back to work, like the rest of us should be too. But then both Shinra and Izuku saying, yes sir, heading into that of the office room with that of Arthur and Maki, with that of Arthur basically being quite dumbfounded and staring out blankly as always, knowing it's Shinra, of course. However, Izuku and Maki are basically working diligently, with Maki on her computer, filling out a report digitally, while Izuku basically signing some papers and also working on his own Fire Soldier notebook as well, as he still wants to. He never got a full chance to see every other rookie Fire Soldier recruit during that of the rookie games after all. So he was kind of disappointed to only see that of a small few, especially that girl Tamaki, especially when he thinks about her, as Izuku's face basically goes completely and utterly red just by thinking about her. Within, Arthur saying, why is your face going red, my squire? Are you feeling sick? Unwell? But then Izuku saying, I'm fine, Arthur. Just nothing. With that, as Izuku's redness basically goes down. However, that's when the phone rings. And Arthur basically answers it. However, doing it in him being the future king of Camelot bullshit before Maki knocks him out with that of a chop over his head, grabbing the phone and answering herself, addressing the phone caller properly, listening to the caller, within saying, I see, thank you for telling us. Hanging up saying, looks like we have to take care of something. There's a dog basically stuck in a tree. Within, hearing that, Izuku saying, a dog stuck in a tree? With Arthur saying, you sound skeptic, my squire. No surprise there. Isn't this something that firefighters should be taking care of? With Maki commenting that, well, they're fire soldiers. It's not surprising that they get confused with the fire department from time to time, but even so, best to do what we can to help out as well. Within telling both Izuku, Arthur, and Shinra to head to take care of that of the dog, help out the dog after all. With Shinra saying, don't worry, either me or Izuku can handle it pretty easily. All we need to do is just pick it up from the tree and it'll be all good. As soon as he says that, and they arrive, well, that's when they basically arrive to see that of not an actual dog, but more of a dog person, actually. As it being one of the main three fire soldiers and fire department mascots, basically stuck in a tree instead. With Izuku saying, well, he wasn't entirely wrong about a dog being stuck in a tree. Trying to find some humor in the situation, but it's hard to though. With then Shinra basically deciding to just help out and get the mascot out of the tree. As the mascot can help and say, thank you, young man. I appreciate it. Saying, anytime, but why were you even stuck in there to begin with? With the mascot explaining that while they were basically giving out balloons to all of the kids and passersby, a bunch of college students basically did a hip hip hooray toss with him and then just tossed him into a tree and left afterwards. With Izuku commenting saying, that is so wrong. Why would they even do such a thing? As the mascot answers saying, it's probably because of the trial today. A firefighter by the name of Miyamoto basically killed that of 7 people, and it's got half of the city, mainly here, as in that of an uproar. Within hearing this, Izuku, Shinra, and Arthur are completely utterly shocked, with Izuku saying that a firefighter killed all those people? But why? Shinra saying, why would they do such a horrible thing? As the mascot answers saying, I am not entirely sure, but I do know this, he won't be found guilty. Hearing that causes all 3 of them to be completely and utterly shocked at that. Speaking of the very firefighter that was basically being put on trial, just as the mascot says, the judge basically acquitted him entirely and not found guilty at all, to leading those in that of the courtroom completely and utterly pissed at that. As the man mentally couldn't help but smirk at all of this, knowing that they would never basically convict him after all. He's a firefighter. They're way too important to that of the current Tokyo Empire after all. However, little did he know or anyone else around him, he would soon basically be hit with that of spontaneous human combustion, and it would soon turn into that of an inferno. With dark blue skin, that of baggy brown pants, and basically that of a pretty menacing smile, with flames basically coming off of his head. However, his face basically looks like that of a fireman's cap, as everybody basically loses it and goes on and tries to rush out of the courtroom not to get hurt, as the newly minted inferno basically goes on a rampage. For that of Arthur and Shinra, on the other hand, they are currently basically helping out that of the other 3 mascots around town and handing out balloons to everybody. However, as they basically are giving out that of, balloons, they soon hear a siren as it's coming from that of a fire soldier station wagon, but not just anyone, Company's 8, known as the Matchstick. With Izuku saying, wait, so there must be an inferno nearby. But then Shinra saying, shouldn't we go? However, before Arthur could say anything, that's when the siren, the air horn basically goes off with that of Takahisa spoken up saying, Arthur, Izuku, Shinra, who gave you authorizations to leave that of the company? The next time I see you 2 and the next time you arrive back at the company, I am going to basically show you the very definition and meaning of punishment. leaving all three boys basically nervously shuddering. Within, however, Izuku mentally thinking, I mean, these punishments can't be as bad as Beni-chan's, can they? As Izuku is basically shuddering in that of somewhat fear. However, they decided to even go after just to make sure to help out after all. With Shinra basically using his feet to fly, and Izuku using that of his southpaw style, Vermilion Phoenix, wings and tails, as he uses the tails to basically grab Arthur, within saying, thank you for always helping me, my squire. I trust you more to fly me than that of that devil after all. But then Shinra can up and say, piss off. Not like I would even want to carry you to begin with, you damn wannabe knight. With Arthur getting annoyed and angry, narrowing his blue eyes at that of Shinra, with Izuku saying, you two, knock it off, now. Now's not the time. We need to catch up with the matchbox. With Izuku and Shinra catching up to that of the Company 8's station wagon, with Takahisa spoke up saying, so, the two of you finally showed up, with Shinra saying, what's the situation, Lieutenant? As Takahisa explaining that Inferno's on that of a rampage and is currently attacking that of Innocence, their duty is to make sure to take care of it, but prioritize helping out that of civilians and keeping casualties to a minimum. Within, all three of them saying, right, blitzing towards that of the courthouse, as that of the Miyamoto Inferno, still having the judge in his hands, grabbing him by his collar and dragging him out, as he looks like he's about to finish him with that of a downward punch towards his face. That's when Shinra soon basically kicks the murdering firefighter turned Inferno. Within, Izuku seeing the perfect opportunity, saying, Arthur, take him out! Saying, understood, my squire. Flinging him with that of his burning tails and throwing him towards that of the Inferno, as he basically turns into that of literally Sonic the Hedgehog and burrows into him, sending him flying even further. With the Inferno grunting in pain and basically cratering into the ground, he couldn't help but basically wince before then saying, you damn brats! Who the hell do you think you are? With Shinra checking on that of the judge, and Arthur getting back up too, with that of his Excalibur blade in hand, and Izuku flying down saying, we're fire soldiers from Company 8, here to basically purify you. And you could see this as that of a punishment for your crimes, for hurting those innocent people and making their families suffer. Within, Arthur spoke up saying, prepare yourself, you fiend. You'll now face that of a true knight of Camelot, his squire, and that of a worthless firefoot devil, with Shinra screaming, is that really necessary, damn it? Then Izuku can help but sigh saying, look, the point is, you're going to pay for what you've done today, and we'll send you off to either that of the next life or Gehenna, or even Magatsugi. Like hell, you will. Within, the Inferno rushing towards them, preparing to punch either one of them, no matter who. However, Shinra steps in, blitzes towards him with his flames before parrying that of the punch with that of an upward kick, which soon left him wide open for a powerful paw strike from that of Izuku, and then was about to be cut in half by that of Arthur. However, he was able to dodge it at that of a pretty good moment. However, Arthur didn't stop there as he basically kicks him up into the air, spinning. Within, both Shinra and Izuku at the same time were also up into the air with that of their own powerful kicks down onto him, creating another crater into the ground, laying that of the Inferno in complete and utter fear, pain, and suffering. At the same time, that's when Takahisa and everybody else from that of Company 8 finally show up, with the Inferno getting back up, realizing, damn it, I'm not dealing with even more fire soldiers, screw this. As he soon blitzes off, within, Izuku saying, he's getting away. Within, Takahisa saying, Izuku, go after him. Saying, but Shinra's faster, saying, he may be faster, but I need you to make sure to keep collateral at a minimum. Not to mention, I feel like you can purify him better. Within hearing this, Izuku saying, he can help but have that of a sense of joy being praised like this. Before then saying, yes, sir. With then Obi finally getting out saying, all right, everyone, secure the perimeter. Make sure that any civilians that are basically shocked or overwhelmed by that of their fear is taken care of. Sister Iris, Maki, look after the judge. Yes, sir, on it. With Izuku flying after that of the Inferno, as it's with dark skies basically looming over them as it looks like it's about to start to rain. With the Inferno seeing Izuku on his tail, he couldn't help but say, damn it, I need to get him off me. But then realizing, how about I have a little fun first? As he lands into that of a nearby street in that of Akihabara. That's when the civilians begin to freak out and begin to run away. As the Inferno's thinking, this is going to be fun. However, little did he know, a blast of flames gets sent flying towards the Inferno, as he soon steps back before being hit by that of a powerful fiery tail. As currently Izuku is in that of his North Pole style, Azure Dragon, before getting out of his Azure Dragon form, with then saying, you really got a lot of nerve, thinking that you can attack the innocent. But then the Inferno screaming out, what's it to you, kid? I mean, I've saved more people as a firefighter, and now that I'm Inferno, I have the right to basically kill people, don't I? Hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but clench his fist and grit his teeth even more, saying, you even killed innocent people as a firefighter too. That's no damn excuse. But then, that's when the Inferno saying, oh, grow up, kid. Do you know how many people I've saved? More than I killed? As he soon throws that of a car towards that of Izuku. But then Izuku can't help but say, East Paw style, White Tiger Claws! As he grabs that of the car before flipping it over him, landing it back on that of its tires before blitzing towards the Inferno, and then hitting him with a powerful Paw Strike uppercut, sending his head up and flinging upwards into the air, but not even finishing there, jumping up into the air before landing that of a powerful back roundhouse kick towards his sides, sending him skidding down that of the road even further than before. As Izuku rushes towards the Inferno, however, little did he know, he was actually being watched by that of those from Company 5 and its captain, with his captain taking interest in that of Izuku, mainly because she knows that he is a second and third generation fire kinetic. However, she doesn't stay idle, as she gives her orders to that of her company, with Izuku begin to say the prayer to that of the Inferno, saying, wait, please, don't! I don't want to die yet! Saying, apologies, Sister Iris isn't here, but I have to be the one to put you out of your misery. Come on, please, I don't want to die just yet. There's so much more to my life I want to do. Come on, you had to think inhumanely, aren't you? Saying, as Izuku stopped, saying, how many people begged? With then saying, huh? How many people begged you to save them? Begged you not to kill them? Begged you to help, to leave them be, or help them as that of a firefighter? How many innocent lives did you snuff out? Within hearing that, he couldn't help but basically whimper as looking at Izuku's eyes, as his eyes not showing any one of the four symbols of his paw styles, from that of the Black Tortoise, White Tiger, Azure Dragon, and Vermilion Phoenix, but instead, you could see a different type of dragon, a dragon of absolute fear. With then saying, you don't have the right to beg for your life. And as a hero, as a protector, as somebody who wants to see everyone smile with happy faces, an Inferno like you must be laid to rest. It's my duty as a fire soldier and a person who wants to be a hero to all those around me and to those who need one the most. With the Inferno freaking out even more, and soon Izuku prepares that of his flames once more to purify. The Inferno, however, little did Izuku know, that's when his flames begin to dissipate and he could feel a change within that of the atmosphere and moisture in the air. As not only that, he could see that of sakura blossom petals before, as the inferno basically feels like its strength is basically waning. Before then, three fire soldiers come down with that of a straitjacket and wrap the inferno inside, with then saying, "No, wait, don't!" However, it isn't just them, as then Special Fire Force Company, Company 5's captain, Hibana, or as everybody calls her, Princess Hibana, shows up with that of her as seeing her in person, with that as she has that of tan skin, with that of long pinkish hair, a white dress, and over that her is that of a black fur coat, and in her hands being that of a black and red fan with flames coming off of it. As then Izuku saying, "Wait, what is Company 5 doing here? This isn't their jurisdiction." As soon she was about to tell that of her soldiers to basically take the inferno away, with Izuku stopping her, asking on why she's even here to begin with. And not only that, he needs to purify it too. However, Hibana, not even caring what Izuku has to say, and was planning on just doing what she is doing, Izuku planned on stopping her, as he was about to generate that of his flames. However, that's when something happened. He can't channel his flames and his body feels lightheaded, as for some reason he goes to that of one knee, before then going to that of both his knees and and having his hands on the ground, wondering, what's happening? Why am I having vertigo? And within feeling that of the heat in the air basically fluctuating, almost like he has that of heat stroke, but thinking, what the hell? But soon looking at that of Hibana saying, "You really think that you have the right to talk to me like that? Gravel such as you shouldn't speak at all." But then, as Izuku is about to say something, however, his face basically goes fully red, and him basically looking down. But then she's saying, "Oh, so finally realize your place and not have anything to say?" But then Izuku saying, "It's not that. Well, you see, I don't want to look up. It's improper to do so to a woman." As she heard that from Izuku, she couldn't help but actually have a small tint of pink blushing on her cheeks. But then Izuku could feel that a shift in his body just changed, like he can get back on his feet. As soon as he does, he backflips back onto that of his feet once more, but realizing, what the hell was that? But then realizing, wait, I recall, you're a third generation pyrokinetic, are you not? But then hearing that, saying, you know me, and this is the first time we've met and you've already figured it out. I'm also surprised that you didn't go flat on your face like that of so many others. But then he's saying, let's just say I've been through my fair share of training that involves heat stroke. But then she's saying, oh, is that so? As one of the fire soldiers basically pushing through the crowd before pushing a little boy. Seeing that, he's saying, what is wrong with you? Why would you push an innocent civilian like that? Don't you know your duty is to protect the civilians, not hurt them? But then Hibana basically flaunting her fan saying, oh please, if we wanted to hurt these people, we would have, and we would never do such a thing, unless we have our reasons to. But then hearing that, Izuku's eyes blazing with that of fire, as he's in that of his West Paul style white tiger stance. But then three ladies begin to come down in that of quite, provocative uniforms, as they all basically look the same, with the same hairstyle and same hair color, and even the same shades and facial structure as well, almost like they're triplets. With Izuku seeing them coming his way, he flips out of the way once again and gets into that of a battle stance once more, as these being that of Company 5's three angels. However, at the same time, that's when Company 8 finally appears. But then Izuku saying, everybody! But then Ogi saying, Izuku, what's going on here? Yeah, about that, Captain. Company 5. But then, everybody's seeing the company with out of the inferno. But then, as the rain finally stops, as each company is basically facing off with one another. No fight, but you could feel the tension in the air, as Obi basically wondering on why Company 5 shows up into that of their territory and turf, since this is their district after all. Hibana, on the other hand, could really care less, as all she cares about is basically conducting their research and figuring out how that of spontaneous human combustion is done. It's best to figure out what that of a live subject, inferno, instead of a dead one, since they're aiming for that of the same goal after all, and Company 8 is still new and they don't have a science team on hand just yet. Best leave it in the hands of the team that actually can handle this stuff first. With that, Obi decides to leave things be for the time being. However, doing so led to one of Company 5's members to basically talk shit about Obi, a guy with that of blonde hair and basically chewing bubble gum and has a really punchable face, which Shinra and Arthur basically are about to step in, and Izuku about to step in too. As much as he wants to hurt the guy too, this isn't the right time and it's not worth it. However, Maki, on the other hand, as Izuku thought that she was about to help out, however, she basically 1-inch punched the guy in the gut, basically putting him on the ground with tears in his eyes, leaving both Izuku, Shinra, and Arthur completely and utterly shocked. However, she thought that she was going to be ridiculed and reprimanded by that of Takahisa. However, he basically just gives her a thumbs up, with her having a thumbs up too. However, at the same time, Iris couldn't help but keep her eyes on that of Hibana, and Hibana looking back at Iris, almost like the two of them knew each other, with both companies heading off. The very next day, that's when Company 8 has that of a training session and meeting after all, with Obi basically training his body. However, it almost looks like he's doing that of a, show performance after all, by balancing on that of a sitting ball, while also lifting up that of several weights and balancing them on his hands and arms and over his head as well, with a coffee mug on top too, which, if you could see, it's quite entertaining, to be honest. But other than that, Takahisa soon explains about everything about Company 5, that it's still, even though the company has been around for at least that of a few good years or so, Captain Hibana, on the other hand, is considered to be one of the youngest captains after all. Originally a worker for Hajime Industries, the same Hajime Industries that basically supports that of Company 3. She released that of findings and research on that of spontaneous human combustion, which soon led to her basically gaining that of her own company of her own, and mainly focuses on that research as well. But even so, for the past couple of years, she hasn't released anything new until now, which basically begs the question, what kind of research is she even doing? Speaking of that research, she's basically torturing the inferno that Izuku and the others fought against that yesterday after all, as Miyamoto basically begs for his life to be spared after all. However, Hibana, on the other hand, just takes quite a bit of pleasure into torturing the inferno. Back with Company 8, they also begin to start training. However, Takahisa is kind of annoyed with that of, everybody not paying attention. Mainly that of Shinra and Arthur not paying attention. Izuku would basically try and get them to pay attention like he always does. However, he's focusing way too much on not trying to piss off that of Lieutenant Takahisa right now. And he finally snapped and basically shot at that of, Shinra, in that of the leg, with Izuku worried for his friend and wondering on why the vice captain would do such a thing, before realizing that Shinra has no bullet wound. I mean, there's a scratch wound on that of his pants, and maybe a small little bruising, but nothing too serious. And within, Izuku saying, "Oh, I forgot, you're a second generation fire kinetic, Lieutenant." But then, the glasses wearing second in command of Company 8 adjusted them, saying, of course, "Oh, and if you're wondering if this was just an airsoft gun, Shinra, I didn't shoot you with an airsoft gun." Within, Shinra basically feels a little bit fear as he has his nervous smile saying, "Get to know." Before he does the same to that of Arthur as well, because him not paying attention and acting too much of an idiot. And his overacting imagination as well. But with that little meeting out of the way, soon everybody, those from Company 8 begin to spar. Mainly with that first up being that of Arthur and Maki, and then Izuku and Shinra. While training, Izuku wanted to ask Shinra if he's doing okay. Within, Shinra saying, "Yeah, I am. Why do you ask?" But then saying, "I feel like you're worried about that of, well, Miss Iris. Didn't you run into her during that of your training?" But then saying, "Oh, you heard?" Saying, "I was doing my workout training too on that of the roof. I saw her basically doing that of her usual prayers." Within, Shinra saying, "Wait, you saw her? Izuku, I didn't take you for it. Hey, it's nothing like that. You know that. But anyway, Shinra, I would never." Basically frantically throwing his arms around in that protest. But then Shinra could help but laugh, saying, I know, but still, even so, you're right. I am worried about the sister. I feel like there's something going on." At the same time, Sister Iris also is in that of the cathedral of the company base, within having that of a photo and the symbol of that of the Holy Soul. However, the photo looks quite burned, though. But if you look closer, you can see that of a younger Iris. And right behind her is that of a younger Princess Hibana. As that Iris has that of a look of determination and willpower on her side. As the day now goes by, that's when everybody is about to go to bed, with Shinra still worried about that of Iris, asking both Izuku and Arthur if everything's okay with her. With Arthur basically giving the same delusional answer, "Is the princess okay?" Then Izuku say, "When you say princess, Arthur, you could be recommending that of Captain Hibana from Company 5, right? Because people call her princess as well." Within, Arthur saying, "I see. Thank you for telling me, my squire. Is the blonde princess okay?" Within, Izuku could help but wince a little bit, saying, "That's somewhat better." Within, Shinra saying, "Now I mention it, you don't even call Maki princess anymore. Why is that?" But then, Arthur saying, "Isn't it obvious? She is no princess. She is an oak." Before he could finish, that's when Maki basically busts through that of their quarters room, with Shinra basically falling out and Izuku hitting his head on his bunk bed. Within, Maki saying, "Huh? Oh, you guys okay?" Within, Shinra basically groaning, saying, "What's going on, Miss Maki?" Within, Maki saying, "Right, Iris is gone." After hearing that, all three boys are completely and utterly shocked. As for Iris, she's currently at that of Company 5's HQ, with her basically saying to meet with that of Hibana, as one of the soldiers were about to basically put her aside and possibly think that their princess wouldn't want to meet her. However, as soon as she says her name and tell her that Iris is here to see her, she would most definitely oblige. However, as they have that meeting, though, it did not go exactly what Iris wants, as the big sister Hibana that she always admired back at that of the orphanage convent that they were basically raised at as kids is no more, or rather, she's too broken. A girl obsessed with that of spontaneous human combustion, a girl consumed by that of the hatred for flames, a girl who basically wants to do anything to not feel so powerless at that very moment anymore. And all that's left is a bitter woman wanting nothing but power and knowledge. As even so, she even burns that of, half of Iris's nun attire before tossing her coat at her. At the same time, Company 5 got an alert that somebody has infiltrated Company 5, as those two people being Shinra and Izuku. and not left behind is that of the remaining members of Company 8, as Arthur basically makes a hole big enough for that of the matchbox to basically come right into, that of the facility as well. Obi, Takahisa, and Maki basically coming out as well, as everybody from Company 5 has come out to basically take them all out and take them on, as this is a battle between companies, with Obi basically giving Izuku and Shinra orders to find that of Sister Iris. Most definitely would be with that of Company 5's Captain Hibana. With that, the two boys head off to find her, while Takahisa also gives them orders to cause a bit of chaos too, so they can also still bring in a little bit of hell raising themselves. As Shinra basically blitzes towards that of the main cathedral where Hibana and Iris are, alongside Izuku, blitzing there too in that of his white tiger form. Company 8 basically cleans house pretty easily, especially that of Himura Takahisa, of course, being one of the most creative second generation fire kinetic after all, taking out a huge majority of that of Company 5's grunts, and even that of their, one of their prize members, being that blonde-haired douche, Kaishishi, the dude with that of the bubble gum. The same also goes with that of Arthur as well, who basically was going after that of Izuku and Shinra, annoyed that his squire basically abandoned him even though he had his orders, and basically followed after that, that hot-footed devil, with then finding a trail with both of their tracks. However, he wouldn't be able to catch up with them, mainly due to that of their Company 5's head scientist, Dr. Headcone, and the Inferno that Izuku and the others fought against yesterday, as they basically reprogrammed it and used it to basically now fight for them instead of figuring out now. However, even with that of the fight being quite one-sided on one hand, once Arthur got that imagination of his going, he was basically able to one-shot it without even breaking a sweat. As for that of Izuku and Shinra, they soon run into that of the Company 5's three angels once again. However, not even breaking a sweat, Izuku, alongside Shinra, basically knocked all three of them back without even, going all out. All of them basically in somewhat provocative, positions while knocked out, with Izuku keeping his eyes forward and Shinra too serious to basically not even care, as they enter that of the cathedral and seeing that of Iris and Hibana all alone together. Within, Izuku saying, "Captain Hibana." Within, Shinra saying, "Iris, you okay?" Within, Iris seeing that of both Shinra and Izuku saying, "Shinra? Izuku? But why are you two?" Within, she's saying, good. These two will be the first people I burn to cinders right in front of you, Iris." As Hibana couldn't help but have that of an enigmatic grin and look on her face, with even that of her irises, which looked like that of sakura blossom petals, couldn't help but basically glow and gleam in that of joy. But then Izuku saying, "Watch out, Shinra. She's a third generation fire kinetic. She basically has control over that of the heat in the air to basically create that, to make you feel like you're having that of a heat stroke. It also affects that of the heat within that of your body." But then Jim saying, "You figure that all out by just interacting with her just by yesterday?" But then Izuku saying, "Well, not entirely. I wasn't for sure, but as I began to think, she was able to basically turn off my flames and make me feel like I was basically going through that of heat stroke, which means her fire kinetic abilities are similar to that of a second generation, but she's nothing like me but she is definitely a third generation. She's only able to manipulate her own flames, but her flames have some way to manipulate ours, which means we need to basically have to react and keep a clear head. Got it?" Within, Shinra saying, "Got it. Let's do this!" Within, as the two are about to blitz towards her, that's when as soon as she uses that of her flames, as she fans them out. Within, Shinra, feeling like his flames from his feet basically just went out, with his head basically going fuzzy. Izuku doing the same as his flames, his tiger claws, began to also dissipate as well. However, as soon as he noticed this, he grabs Shinra by that of his uniform and put him back on that of only that of his knees, with even Izuku being put on his knees too, with then saying, "Oh, already able to react that quickly." With then Izuku saying, "Hey, like I said, I think I figured out your fire after all. You're just heating up the moisture in the air to create that of a layer of heat waves that can create that of heat stroke and give us that of vertigo." Within, Shinra saying, "Like you said, Izuku, after all of this stuff is just in our heads." Within, she's saying, "All in your heads, you say." But soon, Iris saying, "Please, Sister Hibana, stop this. Remember all the good times that we all had. Don't you think that God wouldn't want this?" Then, Hibana couldn't help but basically grit her teeth before then saying, "God, you say? You really think God even matters? God even exists? I'll let you know this now, Iris. Your so-called God has never existed. If your so-called God existed, then why? Why did our fellow sisters have to burn to death? Why did we have to suffer and see them all die right in front of us? Why did we have to be the only ones that survived that massacre? Are you saying that all of that was God's plan? Because I'll tell you this now. Because there wasn't any plan at all. Because there wasn't any God. Because all we are, every single one of us, are living in hell. And the thing that I've learned in this living hell of ours is you either burn others or you get burned. And I'd rather be the one doing the burning." As she says this with that of an animatic gleam on her face. Within, Izuku couldn't help but grit his teeth. However, as soon as he saw that of Hibana's eyes, even though they looked like they were just as twisted as her face, but he could see it. Deep down, those are the eyes of sadness, the eyes of grief, the eyes of fear and loss. If she feels that way so much, then why? Why does she have that look in her eyes? Within, Izuku standing back up on his feet, within saying, "You don't believe that, don't you?" Within saying, "Huh? You don't believe anything that you're saying. You're saying all this just to reassure yourself, when in fact you don't even believe it." Saying, "The hell are you talking about? Of course No, you don't." But then, Izuku preparing his flames, saying, "Because if you did, you would have killed Iris then and there. You wouldn't have any care or kindness for her at all. But instead, you wanted to leave her alive because you still care about her, even if she feels despair and loneliness. You still wanted her alive because you still care about her." But then, she's saying, "Shut up." I said, "Shut the hell up!" Within, soon, flames begin to basically erupt around the entire area. Within, they also a biggest flame pillar erupts around that of Hibana. As soon those flames begin to take form in the form of a tree, as then it begins to sprout that of Sakura petals, as this being her third generation fire ability Sakura, with Izuku being on edge, as then Shinra saying, "Izuku's right. You're hurting. You've lost a lot to the flames, to the fire of this world. Trust me, I feel the same too, Princess. I lost a lot as well. But that doesn't mean I'm going to let my loss dictate my actions, like I'm going to allow my pain to overcome me. That's why we're going to win. We're going to snap some goddamn sense into you. That's why you can call us Mr. Slap Some Sense Into You Man." Within hearing that, Izuku could up and say, "Seriously? You're doing the whole men thing again?" With Izuku couldn't help but deadpan at that. However, part of him couldn't help but say, "But he's right. getting to a fighting stance saying, we're going to slap some sense into you. For your sake and Iris's. Then saying, oh, I like to see you boys try. With that of one wave of her fan, she soon sends that of a flurry of sakura petals towards them. However, for Izuku, normally they would basically consume and basically burn away at that of Shinra and Izuku, while being engulfed by that of a pillar of flames. However, due to Izuku's second generation kinetic ability to control any flame around him, by dictating it and moving it around like that of a current through a water, he basically gathers around all of that of the flaming sakura petals around him and Shinra. But then, soon, Izuku saying, Shinra, I'm gonna give you an opening. We need to take that tree out right then and there. So I need you to send your biggest blast kick towards that tree. You got it, Mr. Distraction Man, saying, seriously? As more and more sakura petals begin to flurry around that of Izuku, and Shinra begin to control more and more of the sakura petals around him, creating more of a flaring opening, getting step by step, and step by step, and step by step. With Shinra having that of a wide open area, he basically begins to channel his flames beneath his feet. He activates his ignition that's when he soon blitzes towards that of the sakura tree, with Hibana basically freaking out saying, no, it can't be happening. My firepower should be stronger than theirs. I should be lording over them like the insignificant gravel and pawns that they are. Why am I the one being pushed back? But then, Izuku finally getting his second win as he soon blitzes towards that of Hibana. But then, screaming, Shinra, no! At that, he soon blitzes towards that of the sakura tree, spinning into the air, before then laying down a powerful drop kick towards it, sending his own burst of immense flames around that of the tree, completely dispersing the fire as a whole. With that simple second of distraction and her power, and basically her strongest power basically being dispelled, Izuku was already in front of her, and then one solitary punch to that of her face. With that, she soon is basically knocked out right then and there, with her basically laid out on that of the ground. Izuku taking a huge deep breath, with basically smoke coming out of his mouth. But then looking back saying, Shinra, you, saying, yep, all taken care of here. But then looking at that of Iris, as Shinra walks over to her saying, sister, you okay? Saying, yes, but Sister Hibana. Looking at that of the knocked out young woman. But then he's saying, you really care about her, don't you, Sister Iris? After hearing those words from the greenette, she couldn't help but nod, with Izuku smiling too, saying, I have somebody like that as well. A big brother, actually. No matter how many hurtful words he said to me, no matter, even if he felt like I betrayed him by leaving Asakusa, I would always look up to him, always admire him so much, because in reality, he's a really good guy, the greatest of all time. You can't help but see the same thing with that of Captain Hibana, can you not? But then Iris saying, yeah, I can't. She means so much to me. Then saying, then go to her. Going to that of the knocked out Hibana and placing her head on that of Iris's lap. But Shinra couldn't help but smile, with Izuku smiling back. As Hibana basically woke up a few minutes later, she couldn't help but be confused and wonder why Iris cares so much about her, cares so deeply about her after everything she just said and done. With Iris explaining everything, when they originally used to live at the convent, everybody always looked up to Hibana no matter what. Always couldn't help but admire her, the big sister who always protected them no matter what. With Hibana couldn't help but scoff, saying, but she never had anything like that for herself. She may have been there for the girls, but no one was there for her. Not even the flame, not even that of the powers that she even admired. She even began to despise her powers. She had no one. Within hearing that, Izuku basically stepped in and say, then believe in us. Believe in me. Within, seeing that of Izuku, as he had that of blushing cheeks, however, he still had that of a somewhat resolved look on his face, saying, I may not be much. I may not be anything perfect. And honestly, I even feel like I may not even be worthy of this. But I promise you, if you ever need somebody to help, if you ever ask for it, then I'll be there. I'll be the hero that you need, Miss Hibana. But then after saying that, Hibana couldn't help but blush a little bit before then saying, why would you even care after everything I've done to you in your company? Also, this hero talk again. But then, Shinra basically going over to that of Izuku, placing that of his left elbow on that of Izuku's right shoulder, while giving him that of a toothy smile and grin, saying, then you are looking at this world's two future heroes. Heroes may not exist now, but you're looking at them right here. And that's exactly what we're gonna strive for. But then Izuku smiling, no longer fully nervous, saying, that's right. The two of us will be heroes no matter what. And if you ever need one, if you ever need to just talk or even just want to, or ever in trouble, I'll be your hero, Miss Hibana. I'll save you just like I promise. With Hibana's face even began, her cheeks began to blush even more. But within Izuku saying one last thing, besides, your pyrokinetic powers as a third generation? Within, he couldn't help but just say it without even thinking. It's so beautiful and powerful. I would love to know more about it alongside you. But then that was the straw, as that of the flowery sakura petal irises in her eyes turned into that of full-on hearts. As she shakes her head saying, well, I guess that settles that for at least for now. Well, given what has happened outside, I'm guessing Company 5 lost. And for that, we'll be pulling back our forces. And I'll also offer at least that of an apology as well. With Izuku surprised and Shinra saying, wait, seriously? You're gonna go all through that? Saying, has to be done. As Iris couldn't help but smile at that of her big sister figure. Within, soon, she can't help but comment with that somewhat of a cheeky smile with tears in her eyes, saying, so, I'm guessing I got over my shyness, didn't I? Within, Hibana couldn't help but huff, saying, over your shyness is understating it. Coming here basically in the middle of the night, what would happen if I didn't actually come to speak to you at all? What would then? Then I would come back again, still having a cheeky smile, within Hibana huffing, saying, of course you would. And then Iris couldn't help but also comment, saying, besides, I really missed your flowers. I really miss seeing them. Then, she's saying that, Hibana couldn't help but sigh, saying, I figured as much too. Within, bringing her hand up to the air, that's when she uses her flames to create that of Iris flowers. With that of Iris, in that of complete and total awe, and also in that of in shock and love, as the two sisters finally reunite after all these years. Tomorrow, in that of late afternoon, that's when everyone from that of Company 8 and Company 5 basically just decide to have a barbecue together, with Takahisa basically grilling and showing off that he's actually quite skilled, to be honest. Even having that of the fire soldier mascots there too. Within, however, Izuku is also eating. However, he's eating with that of Hibana, who is trying to offer food to to Izuku. With Izuku quite nervous, with his face basically going quite red, to be honest, being offered food by that of a beautiful woman such as Hibana. However, the blonde guy Kirshin, part of the 5th Division, the guy with the bubble gum, basically is holding up an umbrella for both her and Izuku. Not to mention, he's quite annoyed at the fact that Izuku is having that of Hibana's attention. Add that with that of, well, everyone else from Company 5 and 8 having some fun, hanging out together. Even Arthur being in charge of Watch Maki position, mainly to make sure she doesn't start playing with fire again and start making her homies. As for that of Obi, he's basically trying to make it as a legitimate, well, team joint training exercise that what happened last night instead of it being a full-on battle raid after all. But hey, to reach their own and to make sure that this does not leak out to other companies after all. However, barely anybody's listening outside of the mascots. Later on, as everybody begins cleaning up and some begin heading to that of their barracks, Captain Obi, alongside that of Princess Hibana, began to talk, with Obi asking, "So, you come to support us now?" Within, Hibana couldn't help but say, "Well, after everything that's happened, of course, you have that of Company 5 support. Well, at least my support. For everybody else here, it's going to be easier said than done. Anything you need will be fine." Within, Obi saying, "You're a lot more generous than was before." With Hibana couldn't help but comment saying, "Trust me, I'm aware. I'm aware of the kind of person I was before all of this. Person who despised and hated the flames. A person who basically despised and hated this entire world in general. I thought being cruel and having cynicism would basically keep me alive in this world. I thought that doing inhumane and twisted experiments would be the only way to basically combat the evil of this world as well. I was nothing but a puppet controlled by that of my fear, until I found that light. A light made by that of two self-proclaimed heroes, especially one who's too kind and honest to a fault. I can't help but admire it. A boy willing to take on other people's pain and even willing to save them even when they didn't even ask for it. Who knew that some hero like that even existed?" As Hibana couldn't help but think of Izuku, within Obi can help but say, "The way you sound like it, it's almost like you got a little bit of you admire that of our little green-net hero." Within, she's saying, "Don't be absurd." Like I would. Within, Obi saying, I'm joking. But it's not wrong to think of that. Both are little self-proclaimed heroes, both Shinra and Izuku. Their light is gonna go by far in this day and age. Trust me. Then she can up and say, "I couldn't agree more." However, that's when they get back to business. As for that of my research, I kind of figured that you were basically going to use Iris to take us down, especially given our history together. Am I right? Within, Obi can help but have that of a sweat drop saying, "Technically, no. Honestly, her whole little stunt last night was kind of her own idea. However, if it came to it, and if I really needed to investigate it, you guys, she was going to be somewhat of our trump card." Within, Hibana saying, "Is that so?" And she couldn't help but narrow her eyes at that of Obi. Within saying, "Oh well, what's done is done." All the same is, you do know that the Company 5 is more than just that of a fire soldier company. We're basically connected to that of Hajime Industries, just like how that of the third company basically is part of Hajime Industries as a whole. Yeah, I'm aware. So you know that you're going to need to do more than just barge in when it comes to that of the bigger name companies. You're going to need somebody to basically bail you out or support you behind the scenes. But then Obi saying, "What do you have in mind?" During our research, I kind of started hearing some rumors that there are basically people starting that of spontaneous human combustion. Within hearing that, Obi couldn't help but be completely and utterly shocked. "You can't be serious." Within, she's saying, "It's only a rumor. However, as time goes on, and as I've been doing my research on that of infernos, it wouldn't be too surprising if it was true. And if somebody has, within, she's creating She makes that of a saint flower and that of her hands made out of her flames. As she's saying, if somebody has, then all the sisters back at the convent, all my little sisters died by somebody else's machinations and causing them pain. If anything, I'll basically drag them to the bowels of hell itself to avenge them. As she declares while crushing that of her fiery flower. Within, Obi saying, I see, can't blame you. Do you know where these rumors start by any chance? Within, she's saying, yes, I do. The rumors all began and started at that of the Shinjuku ward. Within, hearing that, Obi could help but shock, saying, wait, are you saying that's in Company 1's territory? Exactly. The HQ of the Holy Sect Temple, as the goal to understand that of human combustion has grown even beyond our comprehension. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this part? Another long one, and honestly, this is basically what I've been building up to, and what I was trying to build up to that of the first part. Basically, Izuku and Hibana having, well, somewhat of a relationship. At least not now. Izuku's still a nervous wreck, and Hibana is currently just now that of a fangirl. But as this what if goes on, you're going to see more of it. So yeah, at any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification key to date my videos uploaded to channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my other channel, my side channel, and my Cash App. All linked in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care. Do it, Shiro.
Hi everyone, this is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell and check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!